Welcome back to Control. I think we're on episode 4. We're going to shoot some folks. Boom, 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 boom!
What is that?
Oh no!
You can't let this happen.
Boom, boom, boom!
Get the fuck away!
So what I skipped there was just our psychic friend pushing the hiss out of our head. And it's just to tell us that we're being defended by our psychic friend, which is fine. That's why everybody else in the game has to wear a vest, but we don't, because we have a psychic friend. Here you can see that they've replaced the elevator we came in on. It was right here. They replaced it with this big walkway. My favorite little sitting spot with the one baobab plant and the Western paintings is gone. It's been replaced by an exit into executive. That's fine. It throws you off. If you are not paying a whole bunch of attention to how the level is laid out, you can easily start to get confused as to whether you've forgotten something or what. You haven't. The game's just fucking with you. Here we see a very common technique in level design, a bright spot in the distance. If you have a bright spot in the distance and the area between you and the bright spot is dark, you know that that's where you should be going and that there's nothing important between you and there. You can see the same approach here. There's a bright spot in the distance and there's a dark spot between. So we know that we're supposed to go there, and going off to the sides isn't going to be terribly important. Same setup. This is a very, very powerful technique if you plan to move the player along. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of pumping us through this area like blood in a blood vessel. Here you can see them using a repeated element. In this case, it looks like time card sheets. They have the same set over and over and over. You can see how every single one of them even says 7 to 14. But by changing out which of the time cards are present and which are missing, and by also changing which of them are lit and which of them aren't lit, they can make it so that the repetition isn't egregious. That said, the repetition here is kind of strange. I'm not sure why they did this. You can see that the top and the bottom for each of them is identical. That's kind of a strange choice on their part. I'm not sure why they did that. Anyway, if you couldn't see the post effects I was talking about when I was talking about the screen space dithering, it's a really obvious effect on the time card parts on the right there. You can see the cloud kind of skating across as I move the camera. You should be able to see that even on YouTube. That's because they use the screen space dithering to try and keep the shadows under control. And I'll talk more about that when we get into some really dark spaces. Here we're going to have a conversation, a really boring one.
Secure line of communication.
Good.
Guide us.
I don't need any.
Reach the hotline.
No thanks. Okay, now we've got our plot line. We don't need any more conversation.
Hotline.
Right.
Says the dead man. Okay.
Want to say anything else about the hotline? Got some more things to say about the hotline? So, here we are, and this is where the light is, and as soon as we reach it, they do the same thing again. Dark passage, light at the end. This is how you pump the player through an area. You give them repeated areas of light and dark to push them forward, so they don't get distracted by side elements. And of course, by now, you probably will have noticed that all of the photographs are of us. Here we got some dudes. Gonna kill some dudes. Lots of dudes to shoot. Not a big fan of Monster Closet games, but there are worse. Ooh, I got shot. Jerk. Don't fall over. Annoying. He dodged on accident. That's why these enemies move like they do, because when you hit them, they don't want you to be able to just keep pulling on the fire trigger to hit the center of mass over and over. So they tend to like wobble. Where's the guy? There you are. See that red glow? Poof. The first time you play the game, you might not actually come out far enough to see that red glow, but the point here is that When you see that kind of red glow, it is to tell you that you need to do something, defeat some enemies or something similar, in order to get that path open. Here you can see we've got a really nice room. We're going to go on a shooting spree. The reason for that is because these guys are loud. They're the ones that are yelling into the mic all the time. And I want to talk. I don't want them talking over me. So this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the verticality. These people have mastered verticality. And it is a situation where you can learn a lot about what it means to change the ceiling of a room and how to control the lighting. So in this case, we've got this sudden jump in vertical space, and it's this tremendous bright light. And I know that a lot of people, including me, when we change the height of the room, we forget to re-light it. We forget to change the light level at the different heights. And because of that, the height differential doesn't really pop. Well, the easiest way to do that is to have some of the ceiling elements unlit, and then the next layer really brightly lit. That way you can really make it pop. And you can see that over here these lights are all turned off, whereas over there all the lights are turned on, and that's because they want you to notice different things. When you come out here, they want you to notice the obelisk, and they do not care about anything else in the room. They don't want you to notice anything else. And because of that, they light the obelisk, they make it white, and they put a giant vertical jump. I think this is great. It works really, really well. And it's also asymmetric. This side of the obelisk is lit really, really well. But if we come over here, shoot some more loudmouths. If we come over here, we can see an office area. And this is, a natural progression. You come over and investigate the office area. If you turn around, you notice that the obelisk isn't really very noticeable. It's very dark and gray, and that's because it's the other side that's lit. It's not this side. So this is an asymmetric lighting situation where we notice different things depending on where we're coming from. And you might be wondering, well, why would it be like that? Well, the answer is simple. That's where we have to go. Over there near the guy I'm going to shoot. We have to go over there, and they want us to be able to tell. So what they do is when we're over here looking around, and we look over this way, we're going to see a dark area where we're not really sure if there's anything important, and we probably just came from over there. Then we're going to see a nondescript wall, and then we're going to see a glowing green light. So hopefully the player won't be able to not see it. It's a fairly good way to do things, and in this way, if you use asymmetric central elements in your room, you can make sure that even large atrium-style rooms vary depending on which direction you're coming from. It can feel very natural and work very well. There are some pieces of loot we're going to grab, so let's go ahead and do that. Here we've got some more mail. Just kind of pop on over here and inspect some of these areas.
Reminder, if you experience an unanticipated building shift, follow these simple steps. 1. Search the room for any altered items or objects of power. 2. Carry the altered item or object of power to the nearest safe room. 3. Wait for Bureau staff to find you.
At this point, you are fully in the game world, and you know that this place is full of strange things going on, so they're just dropping operational parameters so that you can really get a feel for what it would be like to live in a climate like this. And we're walking through these offices off to the side. I already explained a little bit about them. When we've got a lot of offices off to the side, you've got to make sure to keep them distinct. And one of the big ways to do that is to light them differently, which is exactly what they've done here. I think there was loot in here. Nope. Oh well. So there's a shelter. The shelters are a great idea. It feels like they were created during an earlier phase of the game because these shelters feel like they were specifically created to fight off the hiss. But I think, in canon, they're just here because they're safe spots for any kind of OOP problem. but they seem to be pretty hiss specific. And what I mean by that is that their walls are covered in sound dampening. These are like sound dampening elements. I don't know if they are intended to be sound dampening elements in the game world proper, but they were clearly modeled as sound dampening elements. That's what sound dampening panels look like. I've got some right next to my head, I should know. They're made of concrete, not foam, but the basic idea still stands. You know, if you squint and think about it, you could say maybe they're like shutters, and you push them up and there's like a snack bar behind it or something. But I don't buy it. They're clearly concrete and they're clearly sound dampening. These are fun little hidey holes because they're awful. Now, when you say, why would it be awesome if they're awful? Well, it's because every time you visit one, you get to see how the humans inside tried to make it livable. I think that overall, these are very well designed, and a big part of their good design is the fact that they offer a lot of opportunities for people to need to customize them. For example, most people don't want the toilet just kind of sitting there on the side in the middle of the room like this. So most of these people will start to put barriers up between the toilet and everybody else. We'll talk more about that as they happen, you know, as we go through them. I think we're about ready to move on, except for the small problem that we've already spent 10 minutes, so we're going to move on in the next episode.